then I go straight into the methodology, which we've developed over the last, I guess, 18 months. We call it the blended network action learning methodology, but it has its roots within action learning from the 1970s and 1980s, the work of Reg Evans over in Ireland. But right now, of course, we're in a world of change. In the European research agenda at the moment, they're talking about this twin transition, which is digitalization and sustainability, or the green movement. So combining green and digitalization is very much on the agenda in Europe at the moment. But us as a group of lean researchers, we really see lean thinking and practice as a means of achieving these digital green goals. So I think that's a lot of what was the start point for this project, Lean 4.0, actually. Organizations becoming fascinated by digital technologies which are available. And rather than a headlong rush into digital tools and digitalization, we need to take a step back and really think, well, what is the problem we're trying to solve with these digital tools, and make a learning project out of these problems. So that sets the premise more or less for our Banal methodology, which is very much based on this simple formula, Al greater than C, which means the rate of learning has to be greater than the rate of change, because the only way we can survive in a world of change is to adapt, and adaptation can happen only through learning. So it means we have to continuously learn to keep up with the change, or indeed to keep in front of the change. So back to action learning, Revans, 1982. That was actually the year I was born as well. So it's getting old now, but it's still more relevant than ever. So Revans had his idea that learning is very much embedded in the task. So it's kind of like learning by doing, but it takes the whole idea a step further, and that learning is the sum of program knowledge plus questioning insight. So program knowledge is what we can read about in books and what we can learn on university courses, in lectures. So I guess Fabio is teaching some program knowledge right now, Mirko. But really what we say in action learning is that program knowledge is pretty much useless unless we put it into action by combining with the P our Q, which is the questioning insight, and really asking what does it mean, and begging these fresh, insightful questions as to what does this knowledge mean in a given context, specifically to solve problems. So some years ago, I met another Irish guy, Paul Coughlin, who had been working with the action learning methodology back in Ireland and in the UK and across Europe, actually. And in doing so, it combined it to a network perspective. So not just adding questioning insight from the individuals and teams within an organization, but to also involve inter-organizational insight, which is this last part of the formula you see now, the IO. It's inter-organizational insight. So asking questions across borders of organizations within a network setting. And this is what very much guided our lean supplier development program at Kongsberg Maritime, which I was responsible for 2014 to 2019, and for which we received the lean prize in Norway in 2017 for engaging our supply network within Norway in this learning, lean and learn program. So I think that the real way to solve problems is to not just start with the lean practices, as many people do in a lean implementation, but to start by asking fresh questions. What are based around a problem? What problem are we trying to solve? And let that drive the transformation. So if any of you are interested in reading about the lean program and rethinking this as a learning system, the paper's actually published now in the International Journal of Operations and Production Management. I was thinking, Janus, maybe we should get Cynthia to post it on the website.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, good. So it was a network action learning which really became a predominant approach when we were planning this project, Lean 4.0. as the method and means to integrating Lean and Industry 4.0. So that's really why we're here today, is to talk about this methodology, to talk about smart Lean operations, and plan some pilot projects to test it out in action. The methodology itself, we've based upon this science of praxeology. It's the science of doing, right? So, and it's again back to Revan. So he classified this as 3 systems which are very much intertwined and integrated: systems alpha, beta, and gamma. Now, the whole idea here is that system alpha, it's about pretty much about finding, facing, and framing a problem, a complex organizational problem, not a puzzle. Because of course puzzles can be solved by P alone. You can read a book and solve a puzzle, but a problem can be solved in many different ways. So the idea here is that we're focusing on complex organizational problems. So we're defining the problems in System Alpha and the settings for those problems, and also facing our underlying presumptions, which are actually maybe actually causing that problem. So the way we're currently thinking could be causing that problem. System Beta, then, it's the scientific method of solving the problem through cycles of action and learning, following the scientific method plan, do, check, act. And then System Gamma, it's the real essence of action learning, in fact, and that's the reflection, continuous reflection and learning. What are we learning by doing these cycles of action and problem solving? And how do we share that within and across organizations? Because the most important point is that at the center of all of these systems is a concrete problem. So the blended network action learning methodology we summarize within these 4 Fs. First of all is finding interesting problems at the Gemba. So it means going to see in situ and discovering problems which maybe we don't know we have today. So it's using this fresh insight and fresh questioning approach to the way we do business. Once we find these problems, we have to face the limits of our current knowledge and also face the presumptions that are possibly fueling those problems. It can be a very uncomfortable process, but it's in the end it's a big win if we're able to do this properly. The 3rd F is framing these issues as learning challenges. In doing so, we need to identify our learning needs and begin to construct a network. So the whole idea with the Lean 4.0 program is that we can draw on both knowledge and insight from other members across the network, which is transnational. So it's in Norway, it's in Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Then finally, we can start to form action learning projects to develop smart Lean solutions to these problems. And in doing so, it's important to continuously reflect and share the emergent actionable knowledge. So where else might these solutions apply? Sharing that within and across the network, and also externally from the network, using the website and the platform that we have. So I think in a nutshell, that's pretty much describing the blended network action learning approach. The major components, of course, are the problem. Like I said, we need a problem. No problem is the biggest problem, actually. After we have a problem, we have a network. And an important role in the whole process is the role of the learning facilitator. So each network should be having a concrete learning facilitator, someone who is responsible for teasing out the learning within and across the network, and who guides this questioning and reflective process and ensures the commitment to both action and learning. So those are the main components of the methodology. And just to summarize again, no problem is the big problem, because problems, as the way we see them, are the raw material of learning. There's a picture we took of the network some months ago. I've blocked myself out. I didn't have a beard then. So. But I think the learning facilitator is very much drawn from the work we've been doing studying the path of the Lean Sensei. So a sensei, it's a very different role to a typical consultant that we would maybe use otherwise in a Lean implementation. So the sensei will take you to the Gemba and discuss real challenges, often challenging the way you do things, challenging your discipline. will give you concrete exercises and teach only PDCA, pushing you all the time to the next step. So they don't teach you, for example, 5S and make sure you implement 5S, but they will point to a problem and challenge you to solve that problem. So I think that's really what we're looking for in a learning facilitator in the Banal methodology. We have some critical success factors that we've started to think about. All of this, of course, you can find in the report for deliverable 3.1, which we can also make available to everybody here now. So, but we categorize those critical success factors in human, technological, and organizational.